Hi, everybody. I want to show you a little bit about your final project for MHC 620. I'm going to be toggling between a couple screens on the computer in front of me. So I want you to be able to see where everything is located. So in Blackboard, there is going to be a section called the Forms Repository. When you click on the Forms Repository, all of these things are going to come up for you. So you've got your sample diagnostics formulation treatment plan, your blank diagnosis formulation treatment plan, how to complete your diagnostic treatment plan. So this is the video that you should have watched during module 1, like one of the first videos that you're watching. When you come down here, you're also going to see your documents for your final project. So there are 2 case studies for your final project. You need to choose one of them. So you can either choose the case study of Marco or the case study of Emily to complete. The final project is going to be due in the last week of the class. So if you scroll all the way down to module 7, you will see that this is where you will upload your final project. I'm going to open this up for you. And in module 7, you will find the directions for your final project. So again, you're going to choose either one comprehensive clinical assessment to complete, either the case of Marco or Emily. I'll put Emily in here. The case studies that we have chosen are in a similar format to the NCMHCE, the licensing exam that you take, in that some of the questions are multiple choice. So we didn't want you to have to write a paper in this class. We thought it would be better use of your time to look at a case study and to choose from multiple options, but to tell us why that you're choosing from those options. So we are going to ask on your final project that you expand on your answers in written form. On the licensing exam, you won't have to do that, but we want to give you the opportunity to be able to provide evidence for why you are saying what you are saying in your final project. So there's 3 parts to the final project. Part 1, you're going to answer each of the questions on the case study in detail. You may type directly on the case study itself. It's linked into Blackboard as a Word document. You can just pull that up and you can type right on there. Again, make sure to put your name on it. Be sure to complete all the questions, including the why parts. So the why parts are very, very important. And you can use any materials you need. You can use your textbook, you can use your DSM, you can use the Medai library, anything that you need, you can use for this exam. And you're going to upload your completed case study here. So let me show you what it looks like. So here's the case study of Marco. So for Marco's, you get a little blurb about what's going on. And then the first question is, what information do you need to obtain during the intake to collect more information about Marco and why? So the why is going to be very important. So you can choose all that apply. Some of these are going to apply, some of them are not going to apply. You just have to tell us why they do or don't apply. And again, you can highlight it and type right on the form which ones you choose and why you want to choose them. Then there's another little blurb about Marco, and it says what further information is important in determining a presenting diagnosis, and again, why. So what other information do you need about Marco, and why do you need that information, specifically citing criteria from the DSM-5? Clinically, why are you asking for these things from Marco? And then there's another little blurb, and you're going to answer the question, what assessment or assessments would be appropriate to form a provisional diagnosis? Please cite 2 sources to support the assessment you have chosen. So at this point in your mind, you know what's going on, right? But you just want to make sure. So which assessments are appropriate to form that provisional diagnosis? We've talked about assessments in each one of our modules. Again, you can use your textbook, you can use the DSM, you can use any sort of material you need, but you need to cite the 2 sources that you use to support the assessment you've chosen and why you chose that assessment. Then again, another little blurb. And we finally get to the meat of it, right? What provisional diagnosis would you give to Marco? So this is going to be done in the same format that you've done your case studies throughout the entire class. So you have to include your provisional diagnosis, your ICD-10 codes, any rule outs, and Z codes for full credit. Then it asks, based on the provisional diagnosis, what treatment methods and referral would be appropriate for Marco? Again, cite 2 sources to support the treatment method you have chosen. This is not a treatment class, but we've talked about treatments in every single module. So you should have some idea of what would work with this client based on their diagnostic impression. So you're going to tell us which treatment, and then you're going to use 2 sources to support that treatment. And then question 6 is the cultural consideration question. We want to be asking this every time we are seeing a client. So what cultural considerations should you consider when providing Marco with the best treatment options? And then how might your own biases intersect with treatment for Marco, and what will you do about these biases? We all have implicit biases. So what might be going on in your own life, in your own story, in your own experience, in your experience as a counselor that might create some sort of implicit bias for Marco, and what are you going to do about that? So that's the Marco case study. And then you could choose from Emily. So Emily is the same thing. You're going to get a longer blurb about Emily, and then you're going to answer very similar questions. So what information do you need to obtain during the intake to collect information about Emily, and why? This why is very important. Why do you need these things that you're going to choose? What further information will be important in determining a presenting diagnosis, and why? Tell us why you need that information. Again, cite the criteria in the DSM-5. The assessment question. So what assessment is appropriate for Emily? 2 sources to support that assessment. What provisional diagnosis would you give to Emily? So you need your provisional diagnosis, your ICD-10 codes, your rule outs, and your Z codes for full credit. And then based on the provisional diagnosis, what treatment method and referrals would be appropriate for Emily? You need 2 sources to support that. And then the very important question, what cultural considerations should you consider when providing Emily with best treatment? And how might your own biases intersect with treatment for Emily? And what will you do about those biases? So that is part 1. You're going to read those case studies, and you're going to answer all the questions. Part 2 is you're going to create a treatment plan with short and long-term goals. This is the same thing that we've done in every single module. So remember to consider the evidence-based interventions that we've talked about and your cultural considerations when planning for treatment. The treatment plan form is back up in the forms repository. So I'll show you up here under forms repository. Here's your treatment plan for the final project, and this is what it looks like. So again, you can type right on this treatment plan, make sure you put your name on it, and you upload it right to Blackboard. So 3 short-term goals for either Marco or Emily, right? And why you're choosing those goals, and 3 long-term goals for either Marco or Emily. The evidence-based intervention that you're going to use for them, and any cultural considerations you need to take into consideration while you're using that evidence-based intervention, or to provide the best treatment for either Marco or Emily. So that's part 2. And then the final part, we wanted to do something creative. So let me go back to the final project. So the final part of the project is that you're going to create one alternative treatment modality based on your preference. So we have learned about all of these great evidence-based treatments, but there's also a lot of other things that work for clients that are really great. So examples might include mindfulness, art therapy, sand tray therapy, anything that you feel you are interested in that's kind of outside the box and may be cool to help a client get to where they need to be. So you're going to do a little bit of research on that treatment, and you're going to do a presentation. It needs to be 6 to 8 minutes in a video uploaded to Blackboard. You can use your phone to upload the video. I'm doing this on Zoom. You could use Zoom to upload the video. You can be as creative as you want in the video. So you could do a PowerPoint if you want. You can do a demonstration, whatever you want, whatever best conveys your intervention. Be sure to include why you chose it. And then you're going to upload the video at the end of the Module 7 folder. And this is going to be the final project for MHC 620.